Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. As always, I am excited. I'm excited about my guest tonight, Mischa Zvegintzov. Wait, I'm going to have him pronounce his name. Let me pull him up. Hello, hello, Mischa. How you doing?
Vera, I'm doing so well. Thank you very much. And it's Mischa Zvegintzov.
Thank you so much. Because I
Indeed.
botched it up earlier. Um, but anyway, let me share, and I'm not going to say the last name, and forgive me, but okay. So anyway, I am going to share his bio. Mischa is a dynamic force in the world of digital marketing, empowering heart centered entrepreneurs to amplify their message into the market and elevate their authority, their impact, and their income. No need for throwing money away on Facebook ads. Mischa has got a better strategy up his sleeve. Are you ready to go on an influence tour? With a track record of 20 years in old school sales, Mischa marries tried and true strategies with the cutting edge tools of the digital era. He has made over 1 million phone calls, run massive flyer campaigns, and pounded the pavement door to door and business to business. Mischa and his team generated over $1.5 billion in loans funded. After a brief retirement to guide his two boys through high school and enlighten others through yoga teaching, Mischa now back in the game, and his superpower is building influence. As the founder of the Influence Army, yes, and the host of the Table Rush Talk Show, he's all about sharing the expertise and inspiring others to put their voice out there in a big way. Well, listen, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited about what all we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to give you the floor, and I want you to just share with our audience your story and your journey that's led you to where you are today.
Awesome, Vera. First off, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I loved your intro. It was so much fun. It was
Oh, thank
dancing.
you.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Was I going to just zoom in for 1 sec? Where's my, oh, there we go. Um, excuse me. So my story, I grew up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is a ski town. Uh, Jackson Hole, the Jackson Hole Ski Corporation is there, relatively famous if you're a skier. But in the 70s, 1970s, 1980s, that's where my my youth was. So I grew up skiing, snowboarding, hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, canoeing, all those sorts of things. I was actually not much of a hunter. My father was a big hunter, but I never took to hunting or fishing really. Loved canoeing. The sitting in the boat fishing, not so exciting. For any of you fishermen out there, I don't understand it. Fishermen or fisher ladies, don't get it. Bores me to tears. But I did love the mountains. I did love the snow. And a few things happened. My really the most one of the most powerful things that happened to me in my life happened when I was on my last day of high school. And that's where I got sober and jumped on a plane and went to a treatment center, judge rank. I graduated to judge rank. So in Jackson, as you get in trouble for, your little crimes when you're drinking and perhaps drugging. And I was drinking and drugging a lot in my youth. I was the derelict youth in the 80s, so getting in a lot of trouble. And I'd graduated from Judge Horn, who would put you on probation. So Judge Horn would say 1 year of probation, 2 year of probation, 3 years probation. And finally, I ended up in front of Judge Rank. Hey, Judge Rank, if you're watching this, this was in the 1986, so this was a long time ago. But Judge Rank said, "Hey, Mischa, you can go to treatment or you can go to jail for 6 months." And for whatever reason, and I think it was that both my parents were either my father was sober, my mother was in and out of sobriety, but they had laid the foundation of sobriety for me. So I'd been to family treatment week when my mother was trying to get sober when I was 9 or 10 years old. And I learned what it meant to be an alcoholic and how to lose control of your drinking. And that really one theory about alcoholism is that it's not how often you drink, it's what happens when you drink. So if you take that first drink, all bets are off. Lose control. And I don't mean to make this a dissertation about alcoholism or alcohol or drugs or any of that. It just was very influential in my life. So I was trying to control my drinking due to the foundation that my parents had laid for me, them being sober or trying to get sober. So they planted that seed of recovery in me. So by the time I hit Judge Rank and he said, "Hey, Mischa, you can go to treatment or you can go to jail for 6 months," I saw my life unfold, the chaos of alcohol and drugs. And I saw where that was going to take me if I stayed in it. And I just had this moment of clarity. Yeah, treatment. It's time to get sober. It's time to change my life for the good. Or as my father used to like to tell me, I became part of the solution rather than being part of the problem. So I went to treatment and I got involved in recovery, the recovery community, recovery modalities, the 12-step modalities. And I've been on straight line sobriety ever since. So I'm in my mid 50s now, and I've been clean and sober for over 30 years, 37 years or something like that. No,
Oh,
like that. Yeah, 37 years. And as of this recording. And part of in recovery, usually oftentimes us addicts and alcoholics, when we're in our addict and alcoholic state, we're very self-centered to the extreme. Oftentimes we don't even realize it, but we're just selfish and self-centered to the extreme. So the recovery framework was laid out for me, and it's in effect trust in God, clean house, work with others. And the trust in God part is we've got to squash the ego. We've got to squash that addict alcoholic ego that's just running amok, causing us to be selfish. We're usually in denial. We're usually creating a lot, or I'll speak for me, I was creating a lot of turmoil in my family, work, if I could hold a job, whatever, usually thinking that everybody else was the problem and not me. So I had no capacity to take accountability. But anyway, you trust in God, so you you get to develop a relationship with a higher power, God, the universe, call it what you will. And then there's the clean house side where you inventory your life, you look at your resentments, your fears, your actions, how are they affecting other people? And then you take accountability for that. You literally list that out and then you go out and make amends. There's steps and a framework for all this, right? And you start taking accountability for your actions. And a lot of that is also finding forgiveness. So as you clean up your side of the street, you're learning how to forgive others who perhaps did harm you. But what did I do as a result? Or what did I do to bring that upon myself? Or a lot of these resentments are imaginary, right? I'm imagining stuff that isn't true. So anyway, then there's the work with others and the service aspect of it. And there's in this book that I love. It's called The Big Book. On page 102, it basically says you can go anywhere and do anything as long as you are in a place of how can I be of service and what can I bring to the table. And I'll see if I can pull up the exact quote real quick. Um, do not think of what you will get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it. And it talks about checking your motives and things like that, right? And so I started looking at life through that lens of service. How can I be of service? What can I bring to the table? So I, from a very young age, started that mantra. How can I be of service, and what can I bring to the table? And fast forward, staying sober, I got to be a pro snowboarder and travel all around the Western United States and literally be the first snowboarder on many of the ski lifts in Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Colorado. So I did that. Fast forward to I finally dove into sales, and for whatever reason, I love sales and the whole sales game. And so, um, what probably happened too? Not probably. I was actually a DJ in San Francisco Bay Area. I was DJing, playing music on records. Again, this is the 90s, the mid 90s. I met a woman and fell in love, and we were going to start a family. And so it was like, I need to get serious. And I need to put my finance degree to work. So I had a finance degree. I'd been to college, done very well in college. And so I got into sales and I got into retail commodities. So I became a retail commodities broker, and which is basically financial services. And I started telemarketing like mad. That was my job. Telemarket. Smiling and dialing, baby.
Yes,
You know,
I'm
bo-
familiar.
yes. So I've probably made a million, literally a million phone calls. I ended up, building telemarketing teams using auto dialers, but there was a time in my formative sales years where I was hand dialing the phone, and I would dial 200 to 250 calls a day. I had a tick sheet. And so tick one was I dialed the phone. Tick two was an answer. Tick three was I got to say my pitch. Tick four was no or yes. And then I had a follow-ups, right? So I would make a certain amount of follow-up calls a day as well. And at the same time, I'm listening to Zig Ziglar tapes and CDs. So Zig Ziglar on a Walkman as I'm walking to work. Then in my car, I had a cassette player and a CD player probably, but there was a time when it was cassettes. So I had this mix of cassettes and CDs, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, all these other motivational style, sales style people. And I really just started learning my sales chops. And I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's the 2000s. And I get recruited into tech sales. So that's where I start my door to door, business to business. So at first it was telemarketing. What's my script? How many dials am I making? I started to have a ton of success, got recruited into tech sales, started going door to door, learned that person to person style selling. Fast forward, the dot-com bubble crashes. The only job I can get, and I'm married to Dawn, who's the boy's mom, Cooper and Waylon. They're my two boys. And Cooper is 9 months old, and I've been laid off due to the dot-com boom crashing. I literally can't get a job anywhere doing. I was working for Pacific Bell SBC, selling their tech infrastructure, and they had 200,000 employees or something like that at the time, and they're laying off thousands and thousands and thousands of people as the whole economy and tech industry is crashing. And I'm thinking, I've got a brand new son. I've got a wife. I was like, fly me to Nebraska. I'll climb telephone poles and hang telephone wire. I don't care. Give me a job. And again, that industry was collapsing. So the only job I could get was in Oceanside, California. I live in San Diego, California now, but it was in mortgages. So Dawn, who's now my ex-wife, but the boy's mom, and Dawn and I are great friends. But so my brother-in-law, Dawn's sister's husband, his name is Darren. Hey, Darren, if you're watching this, Darren Riley, amazing, amazing mentor for me in the home loan business. They had been telling me for years, you need to get into the home loan business. You know, finance, because I had a finance degree. I'd been in financial services. I knew interest rates, all that finance talk. I had been with some really smart computer trading guys. Anyway, so they were like, "You need to get into home loans. You'd be amazing at it. You're personable. You can sell. You'll dial phones. All this stuff." It was the only job I could get. I did not want it. I was trying to do anything else other than home loans. So we pack our bags from San Francisco, California, and land in North County, San Diego. So my job's up in Oceanside. I live in Encinitas, super close, little town, super close to each other. But I start having success right out of the gate in home loans. I get access to the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, and there's so much data in there. I don't want to get into too much what was going on, but oh my gosh, it's a different market today. I'm since we're being recorded and it's live, I'm hesitant to give out all my secrets. But anyway,
Right.
suffice it to say that anybody who's selling a house is oftentimes buying a house. So you can see who's selling a house. Well, I would solicit anybody who was selling a house saying, "Hey, I see you're selling your house. I'd love to do the loan for you on your new house." And my career in mortgages took off. This was in 2001. So I'm doing great in mortgages. Darren is the best mentor in the world. He was second or third generation mortgage brokers. So he just teaches me the industry inside and out. I'm doing A paper loans, which are the good quality loans. I'll fast forward as well. You can access databases that have all homeowner information in effect in California or in what are called escrow states, but you can get information on millions of homes. And then I figured out how to get those phone numbers. So I built telemarketing teams. We'd telemarket to homeowners, and then I would send it out flyers by the thousands to get the phone to ring. And I had this great 15, 20-year career in mortgages where everything came together for me. And and I was praying to be of service, and I really was serving at a high level. I was helping people get in houses. I was refinancing people. Even through the mortgage meltdown, I thrived
Mhm.
because I was able
Wow.
to find niches. I was there to serve. I was doing A paper loans, which are the highest quality loans you could do. So almost all the people that I was doing home loans for were not part of the meltdown. I don't know if you remember that time.
Oh, I was a part of it. Lost
Yeah,
my house.
yeah. Um, so at some point in there, divorce happens for a lot of us through that time, through the mortgage chaos. So yeah, 2010, Don and I's relationship fractures. My boys are 7 and 9, or 9 and 10, 9 and 11, somewhere in there, and both my parents die in rapid succession. Uh, Gets to be about 2012, 2013, 14. All this stuff is going on. My career starts failing. When my parents passed away, it really shook me up because
My
all of a sudden I was in
condolences.
what's that?
I said my condolences.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you. And it's just to say that it I was in my 40s and maybe I'm a man. It was like it pushed the button on midlife crisis mode. I was like, there's no such thing as a midlife crisis. And then all of a sudden it was, oh yes, there is.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so my parents passed away within 2 weeks of each other. My mother, it was it was we knew it because she had cancer. I mean, we knew it was coming. My father, 2 weeks later, had a heart attack out of nowhere. He was healthy as an ox, supposedly. He was hiking in Wyoming in the mountains he loved, had a heart attack and passed away. And that's actually what freaked everybody out. because people were like, my father was 73, supposedly ultra healthy, and people were. It made it very clear that your time can come at any time, right?
Anytime.
Anytime. And I had success, so I had some money in the bank, and then I went through another failed relationship. And keep in mind, up until this point, I'm constantly I'm in recovery. I'm staying sober. I'm mentoring addicts and alcoholics on how they can be sober. So I'm very active in the recovery community. I'm fully engaged in it, and that did not save life from getting lifey, I guess is what you could say. So yeah, again, divorce, parents die, another failed relationship. I have money in the bank. And as a matter of fact, I'd hit the number of how much money I thought I would have to be happy. And that was one of the darkest days of my life because I was like, money's not the answer. It turns out I'd been trying to fill the God-sized hole with money as well. And so it got really dark for me this whole time because I had to find a new center. I had to reinvent myself yet again. Right, round one was when I'd gotten clean and sober. Then I was a pro snowboarder, and then it was DJ. Then it was my career success, that 20 years of sales success where I thrived. And yeah, that dark night of the soul. so and so what happened was I was burned out in home loans because I'd been working so hard. And I was praying to God, give me my new career. I need a new career. I can't do home loans anymore. I can't do it. This is probably 2013. I was done. I was burned out. Everything that was easy and fun for me in mortgages overnight had become painful. And so I went from being the guy who was the rah guy in the sales team meetings who was telling the people that had a negative attitude, why are you even here? Like, go away, like either you're here, you're in, you're working hard, you're part of the team, or why are you torturing us, in effect? And overnight I became that guy who was skeptical and trying to be positive, but I couldn't. And so what happened was I'm praying to God for 2 years, give me that new career, give me that new career, give me that new direction forward. And in the middle of all that, I'm a single dad, so I'm making my boys breakfast. I'm packing their lunches. I'm taking them to swimming. I'm reading to their classes, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or whatever these books are. And that's what's fulfilling me. And I didn't really understand it at the time. So yeah, there's my two boys, Cooper and Waylon. Amazing. Cooper's the closest one. Waylon's got the longer hair in the middle. And of course, I'm in the back. I went through the long hair phase during COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened is, as I'm flailing at work, and I would say I had low grade depression at this point. And one of my goals in life, and it still is today, is I don't want to go on medication. I think medications, generally speaking, in the US are overprescribed. And some people definitely need medications. Again, I'm just going to say it's overprescribed. And I
Absolutely.
don't like it. And I cashed in that ticket. I can't do that. Right. I got clean and sober. And so I was introduced to prayer and meditation at deeper, newer levels. And I came across this guy named Kyle Cease. And this really dear friend of mine, Dawn Marie Gavin, DM, we call her. DM is all into Buddhist stuff and satsangs and all this kind of fun, just Buddhist and what are the not Buddhist? It's escaping me right now. The Hindu style Eastern philosophy. And so she goes, "Hey, you've got to meet this guy Kyle Cease." And Kyle Cease is amazing. Anybody watching, listening right now, Google Kyle Cease. he's an amazing teacher, mentor, coach, just about how to be just so good. Anyway, I went deep with Kyle Cease, started meditating um, in a big way, journaling to new levels, strategically journaling. So I'm literally meditating an hour a day. I'm journaling like mad. I'm just crying all the time. I'm opening my heart, as you'd say, or people like to say. So crying in a good way, just letting
Yeah.
out all those suppressed emotions. And meditation was so powerful that I dove deep into yoga, became a yoga teacher. I still love my yoga, still love my meditation. That really just transformed my life and gave me a healthy outlet for my emotions. And yoga, just to speak to yoga really quick, one thing that's great about yoga is if you're doing yoga and you're in a stressful class, yoga is so much about breath. So when it gets really stressful in a class, you focus on your breath and and you make it through that stressful point, right? So then you can bring that out into real life. So if there's a stressful point with family, kids, work associates, whatever, you can find that calm, breathe through it, and be a center of peace versus amplifying the chaos. Might be a
Yeah.
good way to say it. Yeah. So what happens is I'll try and speed up, but Kyle Cease, basically, Kyle, I do this program. It's incredible. And one of the exercise in it is you inventory 100 things you know, then you inventory 100 things you love, 100 things you understand, and 100 things you're good at. Can't remember the exact order, but just think about it. 100 things you love. The first 25 are easy. Pizza, coffee in the morning, getting my kids to school, making them lunch, right? And then 100 things you're good at. So the first 25 are easy. You have to dig deep to get the next 75 on any of those. So it takes some serious work. Then what you do is you go through, and for each thing that you've inventoried, so you've got 400 things, if it makes you feel light, you put a dot next to it. If it makes you feel dark, or if it doesn't lighten you up, then you don't put a dot next to it. And so what I realized is that just because I can doesn't mean I have to, because I'm good at a lot of stuff. But a lot of stuff I was like, oh, I can do that, but it doesn't make me feel good. Or it doesn't light me up. And overnight I was like, oh my gosh, I need to quit my job and get my kids through school. Right? Like I've got money in the bank. I'm scared of losing it. My identity is tied to this pile of money, comparing it to your imaginary pile of money. And I'm consider myself, my identity was business guy, successful, all these things. I was tied up in a lot of that. And overnight I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to let all that go. And I got to retire, get my kids through school, and then see what's next. So next day I get this exercise done and I go to my boss in the mortgage business. Wish I could remember his name. And I say, hey, I'm retiring. I quit. Or no, I didn't say I'm retiring. I said, hey, boss, I quit. And he goes, we'll match whatever offer is being made to you. Right. And I say, no, 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 no. You don't understand. I quit. I'm retiring. I'm done. And he stone cold looked at me and he goes, Misha, I wish I could do the same thing.
Wow. Wow. Tell me, I want to put those 100 things in the comments.
Yeah.
So what it was 100 things you love, 100 things you're good at.
100 things you know and 100 things you understand. So 100 things I know could be the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It could be service is brings you fulfillment. Things that you know. It could be technical, literal, philosophical, what have you. Things you understand. So know, things you understand, things you like, and things that you're good at.
Okay, I've put it in the chat. I'm going to put it here. And the purpose for doing this is taking inventory of yourself.
Exactly. And then after you do that, don't forget you if you go through each thing and you just take a second or two and close your eyes and breathe, and does this make me feel light or does it make me feel heavy? And if it makes you feel light, you dot next to it. And so you get to see what almost what your passion is, what your destiny is, what your life purpose is, if you want to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I put this in the chat because I thought that was valuable information that someone might want to consider, especially if you don't know what your purpose is, if you're not sure or clear about what it is that you want to do. Doing this exercise is going to have you feel what it is you want to do and love to do, and let you know that's where you need to head. That's the direction you need to go. I love
Absolutely. Yeah, and it really shed the light on that for me, and it was right in front of me the whole time, which is usually the case, I think, for most of us. It's right in front of us, we just can't see it. I was asking for the next career, and I was focused on it needed to be a job where I was showing up 9 to 5 traditional, or a new business idea or something like that. No, God, the universe, my higher power was like, "No, you need to go do what's fulfilling you, which is raising your boys, getting them to school, holding that space for them, being there for them." Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Okay. I wanted to, because you became a single father immediately after your divorce, or,
Yes.
okay. And being, I know that was probably, it's like, oh my God, here I am with two sons and I need to spend my time and devote my time to them.
Yeah.
As a father, and I say kudos to you, I would like for you to give some pointers to other fathers in terms of raising their children, whether they're in the home with them or not.
Yeah. Excuse me. That's such a great question. So pointers were I made an extreme effort to put the phone away. So at dinners, if I had I was lucky to, I had my sons 50% of the time, which was great. So when I had quality time with them, I put my phone away. I found that driving them to school, if we had the rule in the car, no phones, those were some of the best conversations that I had
Wow.
with my kids. Um, so I would say that I had a rule to no phones at dinner. So no phones at dinner, no phones in the car. We have the habit now as a family. My boys are 21 and 23 now, but generally speaking, when we're in the car, I mean, they can make their own decisions now, obviously. So if they choose to have the phone open, great, they have their phone open. And it doesn't bother me per se, but generally speaking, they're engaged. And
And
it's like
see, that's beautiful.
yeah. The other thing too was I found that being an A type sales guy, that the picture's still up, by the way. I'm not sure if you want the
Yes.
picture. Okay, good.
We
So
can.
being an A type sales guy, I had a lot vested in how successful my kids were according to my rules. And I felt it was a direct reflection on me. So my ideals were straight A's, scholarships, star swimmers, football team captain. These are the metrics. And both my boys were not into team sports at all. And so, okay, I had to let that go. Or
So tell me, knowing that your children did not subscribe to the same things that you wanted them to subscribe to,
yeah,
because so many times parents impose on them, on their kids, what they want for their children. instead of identifying or helping their children identify what it is that their children want for them. So, walk me through that process of you realizing that you can impose your thoughts and desires on them. Walk me through that.
Cool. I would love to. So I would say two things as well. Both my boys were fairly different. One of the lessons I learned was I need to have different guardrails for my boys. What worked with Cooper didn't necessarily work with Waylon. What worked with Waylon didn't necessarily work with Cooper. And I grew up in Wyoming, the wild west of Wyoming, in the 70s and 80s, wide open land, guns, whatever. And I say guns, and like I could shoot guns in the field, right? For fun. We would shoot things for fun. So
Yeah.
you can't do that in California. So, and I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying that's the nature of
Right,
Wyoming at
right,
the time, right?
right.
And a single dad who was busy working, being a lawyer, mountain man, fisherman, skier. He was just a mountain man to the heart, yogi as well. Yeah. And so I had zero guardrails. Like my guardrails, if you could see my arms stretched out, there was stretched out like zero guardrails, right? And so I had put up a little guardrails for my boys, and for me, they felt like a lot. They felt like a lot of guardrails, but in reality, there wasn't much at all. And basically, how do I want to say this? So one of the boys was perhaps starting to get in a little bit of trouble, and I was brought into one of the school programs to try and help them. And it was hard. Divorce is hard. Any divorced dads or moms out there, heck, being a parent, as hard as it is, throw some divorce in the mix, it gets super heavy. So it turned out that the divorce was perhaps affecting my boys, which you go, oh, they're strong boys or strong kids or whatever, but it was definitely affecting them. And so one of the guys, the head of the program, I wish I could remember his name. And the program is called the Ready Program. Anybody can check it out in North County, San Diego, the Ready Program. But it's to support kids that are perhaps going off the rails a little bit, right? And so anyway, the guy says to me, he says, "Hey, so, for example, young Cooper, I'm letting him take Ubers at 14 years old. Like he's Ubering all around. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What wherewithal? That's my kid. Look at him go. Take it, making it happen.
Yes.
And then if you think about it, where's a 14-year-old gonna go if he can go anywhere? He's gonna go anywhere,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely anywhere. And so selfishly, I liked that he could Uber to soccer practice or Uber to his friend's house or what have you, but he perhaps was very adventurous with Uber, as I would have been at 14. And so it became very clear, like, oh no, you can't just let the boy Uber all over the place. But selfishly, that sucked for me because that meant I had to drive him to his friend's house. I had to know where he was. I had to pick him up. I had to do these things, right? When my boys got in trouble, basically the Ready program guy said, if your boys are starting to get in trouble, you have to take their phones. Take their phones. It's the worst thing that kids hate that the most. And kids will respond to that. So when my boys would get in trouble, I'd take the phone. But what happens when you take the phone? Well, now you've got to go pick them up at school. They can't just text you from wherever they are and say, "This is where I am. Come get me." No, you have to have rules and guidelines and be here and be there. And it creates what's uncomfortableness. It's
Dependency for one,
well, yeah. Well, it creates it's
resistance, resentment.
no. I'm trying to say when all of a sudden I have to now do things that I usually don't want to do. uncomfortability. What's the word? It's not
Burden is what I'm
a
thinking.
burden. Yeah, right. It's like a pain in the butt. All of a sudden, it's a pain
Yeah,
in the butt. Like, what do you mean? Now I got to come pick you up from school at 5. We can't just text back and forth, and I can know that your friend's bringing you home or whatever. Now, it's a pain in the butt, right? And I have to take accountability and show up at a higher level. And so that's what I would tell any parents as well. Like, perhaps you have to take accountability and show up at a higher level and be willing to take away their phones, then go pick them up at school. And, you know, things that were easy now might be a bit harder. Gosh, I can't believe the words escaping me. It'll come to me in about 10 minutes. But anyway,
right.
so what happens is I want to answer your question, which I've kind of avoided. So I'm trying to help Waylon with his homework again. He's 9, 10, 11 years old. And Waylon, we're fighting. And the conversation goes like this: Waylon, let me help you with your homework. I swear this time I won't get mad and I won't yell and I won't make you cry. And he's like, okay, Dad, we can try it again. And of course, he's not understanding school so much yet. He's trying, but it's not coming to him. And so we get in these fights and then he's crying. And Waylon's a sensitive soul. I say that with an open heart. Just he's like,
Like his
Dad, just
dad.
yeah. He's sobbing like, Dad, I just need a hug, and I would be like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on? Why am I so wrapped up in these results or in him doing so good right now in a certain way, like meeting those expectations that I'd set. And and if you've I'd we always hear that fear is the anger comes out of fear, right? And so I was like, what is it that I'm so fearful of that brings out this anger in me? I really started digging deep on that, and I bought a couple books on anger and such. I was like, I got to know what's going on here, because the punishment's not fitting the crime, right? Like him not getting his homework done right or exactly in as much time as I want. How I'm reacting, that punishment is not meeting the crime, right? And so I realized that I was just super self-centered, and that I was overly concerned about how he was doing was reflecting on me. And it was quite an epiphany. A lot of parents might think, well, that's silly or that doesn't make sense. And I might not be saying it right, but it was just very clear that when I met other parents and they said, what do your kids do? I wanted to be able to say they're star soccer players, star swimmers, they're the captain of the swim team, they're going to go to these colleges, they're getting these scholarships. And so I had those expectations, and they were super deep in me. Maybe it was Western culture, maybe it was the way I was raised, I don't know. And so I realized, oh my gosh, um, this prayer came to me, and it was, God, how can I support your path for Cooper, setting aside my own selfish wants and desires? God, how can I support your path for Waylon, setting aside my own selfish wants and desires? Because it's my own selfish wants and desires that were skewing everything. And so that became my mantra with my boys. And it allowed me to raise them as each needed to be raised and support them in a God-centered way, if you like. It was
Yes.
it was so powerful for me. And yeah, so that, and then it also hit me like, I don't know what people need to go through to get to where they need to be. I don't know what people need to go through to get to where they need to be. And a lot of people are like, I know what you need to do. If you just do this, if you would just do this, then you would have this. Or why don't you get your act together according to my wants? But God's got a plan for everybody. And I don't
Yeah.
know what that is. My job is to get clear on how I can support their path. And sometimes that's step away, leave. Sometimes it's more hands on. Sometimes it's close the guardrails. With Cooper, we had to rein those guardrails in, man. And for Waylon, I needed to let him out. I was like, I'm going to let you flounder at school a little bit. It's okay. Right. And I'd been having Waylon swim for 5 years or some darn thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll learn to like it. That's what we say as parents, right? You'll learn to like it.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah. And so young Waylon came to me and he goes, Dad, I don't like swimming and I don't think I'm going to learn to like it. It's been 5 years. Right. and and I always had this thing of get a half hour's worth of exercise a day, which I think is very valuable for kids. They
It
should
is.
learn how to build that lifestyle, those habits, right? And both my boys are very powerful swimmers, so they're super stoked that they suffered through swimming, right? But enough was enough. And Waylon goes, Dad, I know you want me to have a half hour of exercise a day. He goes, it turns out that it's a half hour walk home from school to home. It's a half hour walk. He goes, can that be my exercise? I walk home from school.
Wow.
And I was like, that doesn't satisfy my ego at all,
Right.
but that's okay.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Wow.
exactly. So the very next day, and I'll let you get a question in or a comment. Literally the very next day, somebody goes to me. We're talking about what our kids do, or how they're stars or whatever. And someone goes, Mischa, what do your kids do? And I was like, well, Waylon walks home from school.
And that's amazing that you recognize and was able to allow your child to make the decision for the type of exercise he wanted to do, which is great. And I remember putting my son in ballet. I'm just thinking, oh, this would be a great thing for you to do, you know? And I also, football players, they do ballet. So you want to do this. Well, he was like, after 2 classes, and he was only like about 7 or 8, or real young. He's like, Mom, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't. He said, I don't want to. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And so I had to pull him from that. And I need to do a couple of commercials, and then we're going to come back and talk about your endeavors and the things that you're doing right now and how you're making a difference in people. So I'm going to do about 3 commercials at one time, and then we'll move on. I can't
Okay.
believe this hour has gone by so
Oh
fast.
my gosh.
Oh my goodness. I'll be right back.
Let me introduce you to ChatBridge. It's a revolutionary new solution for getting great results from your online networking. Today, online networking has become the standard for millions of professionals. However, getting results from your meetings can be a daunting task. But now that challenge has been solved. Everyone knows how hard virtual meeting follow-up is. You go to an online meeting where at the end, people say save the chat to follow up. And now you have a nearly unusable and ugly chat text file to work with. You can now say goodbye to the hassles of downloaded Zoom-type chat records. For the first time, with the introduction of this new ChatBridge tool, you have a simple system to easily import, search, review, follow up, and find opportunities with the people you meet in all of your virtual networking meetings. And we also made it easy to archive all of your chat files and information on the people you met networking for future use. And it doesn't stop there. With ChatBridge, when you select people to follow up with, you can view their exact posts and even click into their website, LinkedIn profile, or Facebook page if they shared it. Then you can import your selected contacts into the powerful EngagePro system or export your contacts to your CRM, email tool, or autoresponder. Following up and getting great results from online networking is now easy and just a click away. Experience the power of the new ChatBridge, and you'll quickly see how to find new clients, get more referrals, speaking opportunities, and JV partners. There's nothing like it. Find out now how economical and easy it is to get the results you want from online networking at chatbridgeconnect.com.
Your trauma talks, your trauma talks, your trauma talks, trauma talks, trauma talks, your trauma. This is your trauma, your trauma. Life is full of surprises. But you, because your trauma is your story. Life has kicked you to the curb, but you have picked yourself up many times, because your trauma is your trauma, mental health trauma, your trauma, your York City, where you will be set to stage and tell your trauma talk.
Your trauma talk. Let me tell you, I know that was quite a commercial. Let me tell you, everybody has a story. Everybody's been through something. And this is a conference in New York in April for people who are speakers and coaches and want to share their story and share how you have gone through and handled trauma. So if you are interested, the link did not go through here. Okay. Well, see me and I will give you the information for this particular event. And it's in April. And again, if you have a story, if you've gone through trauma, drama, or any kind of abuse, and you need other people to know your story to help encourage them, to inspire them, uplift them, then see me, DM me on Facebook so I can give you more information. And ChatBridge is a game changer. If you go to a lot of network meetings and you save your Zoom chat, and normally when we save our Zoom chat, it goes into a folder, and then you got all this stuff, and in many cases we never go back to it, and we're losing out on networking opportunities, business opportunities, connections that may be things that will help further what it is that you want to do. With ChatBridge, all you do is download the link, just one click, and it's organized in alphabetical order with the links, the comments, and how to get in touch with people if they put it in the chat. So I have put in the comments a link for you to test run it for free. Try it and see how powerful it is. All right. So I have a couple other commercials, but I'm not going to play them right now because we need to continue to talk.
I hope it's okay that I was going on and on and on. It didn't mess up your flow.
If it were a problem, I would have interrupted, but
Okay,
the
good.
story, I would have interrupted.
Okay.
No, you were good. You shared things that needed to be shared. You talked about being a father, some tools for being a father, how you went through your spiritual journey, some tips that people can glean from the 100 things, so this is, you've educated. Now we're going to talk about some of the other things that you do. And let's start with the Influence Army. Tell us about the Influence Army.
Yeah, the Influence Army. So I retired, got my kids through high school, was a yoga teacher, and new inspiration started percolating. And being a yoga teacher was great because I could substitute teach, and it gave me tremendous flexibility, and it was such a good outlet. And really, when you're a yoga teacher, you're in front of all these in classes, and you're projecting and talking and learning how to put yourself out there at a higher level. So great tools and learnings from that. Anyhow, I get inspired to get back into marketing and sales and to start growing a little business. And I love marketing and sales. I just do. And so I jumped into Russell Brunson's one of his higher end coaching programs. It was like 25,000 a year for anybody who's heard of Russell Brunson. It's called the 2CCX. And I jumped into his program again, not knowing really what I wanted to do with all the options in the world. And I thought going through this upheaval in my life, this midlife crisis, that maybe I would do healing modalities or something like that. And obviously, I was into teaching yoga and meditation and all this. But very quickly, it became clear, yeah, no, I like working with entrepreneurs, heart-centered entrepreneurs, even if you'd want to say that. But Russell was like, start publishing to a platform every day. Pick podcasting, blogging, or a YouTube channel and start publishing every day, and it will change your life. Literally what he said. Where he said, start doing that every day for a year, and you won't have to worry about money again. I think are his exact words. So I was like, I'm starting a podcast. So I started a podcast, and it has become the Table Rush Talk Show. There it is right there. So I interview entrepreneurs once a week right now. Great entrepreneurial interviews on there. And there's some spiritual stuff in there now and then because I love the spiritual stuff, mindset, mindfulness. I love techie stuff too. So AI and Chat GPT and the toys like microphones and I you can see that my background is good. I've got lights on me and I've got this great mobile kit. So might talk about that kind of stuff. Those are the things that I love and like talking about and how as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs do we grow our business online. And I started, I was getting, Belove Media. That's in effect, my umbrella business. So that's like the corporate name. And then within that, I've got the Table Rush Talk Show. I've got the Influence Army. My Influence Army where I teach people how to go on what I like to call an influence tour so we can increase our authority, our impact, and our income, all without throwing money at social media marketing. I think so many of us out there, we start by spending money on social media marketing, and it's so expensive. And trying to learn your message and grow your audience, starting that way can be an exercise in futility. And I've seen hundreds and hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs fall by the wayside because they start spending money there first, where really we need to go on an influence tour, start guest speaking on podcasts, start refining our message to other people's audiences. And it's so powerful guest speaking on podcasts. Here I am today, right now, working with you, Vera, having so much fun. You're letting me tell my story. And somebody out there is probably resonating with that.
As a matter of fact, Muhammad is listening and he says, nice. Thank
Yes.
you, Muhammad, for listening. Thank you very much. All right.
Yes. So, and then we can guest write on blogs. We can jump on people's YouTube channels. We can partner with people. That's another powerful thing about going on an influence tour or by guest speaking on podcasts. We're developing relationships and we're getting opportunities to network, to partner, to do these things. And when you guest speak on podcasts, people can literally go to your call to action. So it's like, hey, go to guestingguide.com and download my free guide on how to go on a successful and profitable podcast tour.
Yes. And
Right? So
I
the
have
call
it
to
up here
action.
on the board up here for you to see. Let me pull it up again. Go here, the guestingguide.com.
Guestingguide.com. No, the
Right.
guestingguide.com. And you can learn how to execute a profitable and successful podcast tour. Other benefits of guest speaking on podcasts are the host will sometimes refer you to people. So you might literally know somebody and go, oh my gosh, Mischa, I know somebody you need to meet that would love to go on a podcast tour. You can help them. Sometimes the host will literally use your services. You could come to me and go, Mischa, I want to speak on more podcasts. Help me. I go, great.
Yes.
I can help you what to say it, how to find them, how to get on them, all these fun sorts of things. You can repurpose this content. So you'll give me the recorded content. I can repurpose that into all sorts of fun clips and things and this and promote myself, promote you. Ton of fun. And there's some more. There's the branding. There's the other hidden benefit that if anybody listening and watching, if you're thinking to yourself, I've got a message I've got to get out there. Think about if you committed to guest speaking on 50 podcasts. Think how your life and your business would change. And think of the journey. Think of how you would be a different person at the end of that 50 podcasts. So it's this transformation that's waiting for us if we're willing to commit one day at a time to doing something like that. So I've got my Influence Army where I coach and teach people how to go on a podcast tour, how to go on an influence tour, how to do all those sorts of fun things. I have a higher level one where a tier 3 of that membership right now where I send out emails for people. So I'll send out a couple hundred
Oh,
emails to
wow.
podcasts. Yeah, do stuff like that. So there's some done
Awesome.
for you, some done with you, but that's what I'm
I,
all into right now. Yeah.
well, I know where to direct people that are talking about wanting more exposure and visibility. And we have ran out of time. So so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the final word because even though, we're past the hour, I'm going to give you the final word and then I'm going to close this out. I want to say to my audience, enjoy your evening and have a great weekend. And I will see you on Tuesday. So I'm going to let you close this out. And if you would hold on while I close out the show. So you've got the floor. And
Okay.
thank
I'm going
you
to,
for being here.
Vera, thank you for having me and sharing me with your audience. And I'm going to say two things. One, the best is the enemy of more than good enough. As entrepreneurs, I firmly believe that we need to take messy action. And if we're always trying to be the best or do the best or have the best this, the best that, it keeps us from taking that action. So my mantra today is the best is the enemy of more than good enough. So take that messy action. I'm constantly taking messy action and putting myself out there. And number two, if you are not speaking, no one's hearing what you've got to say. There you go.
Wow. One more time. Say both of them one more time.
Yeah, take that messy action. The best is the enemy of good enough. Even better, the best is the enemy of more than good enough. Start taking that messy action. Go live like Vera and I did. Start publishing, start writing a blog, write your book, put your offer out there. Create that thing that you've probably got that's more than good enough and ready to go. Put it out there and see what the market responds. How do your friends, family, your social circle, are they liking it? Are they grooving on it? So just go for it, put it out there. And then if you're not speaking, no one's hearing what you've got to say.
You hear that, right? You hear that. Well, listen, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mischa. God bless you. And we will be talking in a minute. Okay. Thank you. And listening audience, thank you for being here. And please like, share, and support the Vera Thomas.
The Vera